Opening round of the Wyndham Championship from Greensboro, North Carolina. The Wyndham Championship, the final event for the start of the 2020 FedEx Cup playoffs. 3 guys atop the leaderboard. One of them, this guy, Roger Sloan, the Canadian, 178th in the FedEx Cup standings. Of course, a win would go a long way. Speaking of long way, knocking down a long putt there on 10 for birdie from 36 feet away, putting with precision. Then here on 17, Sloan from just inside 100 yards. Sticks it within 3 feet of the hole. Snuggles that up nice and close. Put a snuggie on it. Moves to 8 under, a 62 for the day. Also atop the leaderboard, Harold Varner III. He's a North Carolina guy. Went to East Carolina. He's actually an Akron native, born there, but he's a North Carolina guy. Raised the green perfectly here. Sinks his birdie on 13. Get to 7 under. Then on 15 for eagle. Gives himself a great look. Gets it up there within 2 feet. He knocked it in for birdie. He also cards an 8 under 62 in the opening round. How about Tom Hoge? 15, second shot of the par 5 from 232. Catches the ridge there, right on the apron, and rolls back to 13 feet here. So a nice little pull the string and get yourself a chance here for eagle. Tom Hoge buries it, moves to 8 under, looking for his first PGA Tour victory. Now on 16, just off the green. Get into the cup, Tom Hoge. Moves to 9 under into the solo lead, but he would stumble on 18 right here for par to save. Missed it. So he settles for a bogey there and settles for a 3-way tie atop the leaderboard. I'm sure if you said to Tom Hoge before the round started, hey, if you bogey 18 and you're still tied for the lead at 8 under, you'd take it, right? Yes, I'd take it. So we've got a 3-way tie atop the leaderboard, 8 under. Harold Varner III, Tom Hoge, and Roger Sloan, all 3 men looking for their first PGA Tour victory there at the Wyndham Championship in Greensboro, North Carolina. Let's get some instant analysis. Welcome in CBS Sports HQ golf analyst Chip Patterson, Sportsline data scientist, and host of the First Cut podcast, Rick Gehman. 3-way tie for first between Harold Varner III, Tom Hoge, Roger Sloan, each carding an 8 under 62 in round 1 there in Greensboro. All 3 looking for their first PGA Tour victory. Rick, who out of this group has the best chance to stay atop the leaderboard over the next 3 rounds?
Certainly. I do think it is interesting. All 3 of these guys looking for their first PGA Tour win, so it's not like any of these guys is known for running away with it. But I'm looking at Tom Hoge. You know, all of them played beautifully today, but it was Hoge who did it via the long game, off the tee, on approach. He was basically field average with his putter. Now, he did chip in on 16, as we saw, and that certainly goes a long way, even more so than the stats would indicate, because he absolutely stole one on the back of 16 green. But other than that, I think he left a couple of strokes out there. Tom Hoge looks to be the guy who has the most staying power. And if you remember back to the beginning of the 2020 calendar year, Hoge's name was popping up a lot on the top of the first page of the leaderboard. He went on a really nice run from Sony Open to the American Express to Torrey Pines, basically 3 straight top 15 finishes. So when you put all of that together, a guy who's playing well statistically, he's got a decent run of finishes earlier this year. I think Tom Hoge is the most likely to keep his name near the top of the leaderboard.
I'm going with this being the breakthrough moment for Harold Varner III. From Gastonia, East Carolina native. This is going to be an opportunity for him to even go check in at home over there in Gastonia. And I think about what he's bringing to this course in terms of finally starting to get a little bit comfortable and maybe even having a little bit of an advantage on the greens, because Harold Varner III is pretty good off the tee, and he's pretty good on approach shots. But the closer he gets to the pin, the more his game starts to get a little bit shaky. So the fact that he putted the ball well at Sedgefield Country Club today, I think that is a great sign for him. You know, we've been discussing Harold Varner III and whether or not he's going to be able to capitalize, whether he's going to be able to finally break through for that PGA Tour win. We've talked about it a lot over the last couple of years, and so this is just such a great score for him to take the pressure off so that he doesn't really feel like he needs to press moving on. Now, look, you're going to need to have a score that is going to be in the 16, 17, 18 under range by the the end of Sunday, but by going low with a 62, tying Harold Varner III's career low as a PGA Tour pro, he put himself in a position to do it. So give me HV3 wearing those Charlotte Hornet colors to go with his Jordans on Thursday to be able to capitalize and get that first tour win on Sunday.
Yeah, he's a smooth one for sure. Harold Varner III, of course, the North Carolina guy, as Chip and I mentioned. Rick, I want to get you to weigh in here. What would a victory for Harold Varner III mean from there in Greensboro?
Oh, it'd be massive. I mean, it would be absolutely massive, not only for the game. I think he's comes through the first tee program. I mean, there's so much going on in that community. And for Harold Varner, who has been close time and time again, he's been building up this scar tissue of these Sunday failures, quite frankly. The 81 he shoots last year at the PGA Championship in the final group. And then this year at the Genesis Invitation, only touches the lead on Sunday, unable to close that out. So for the community, for the area, for the tournament, and for Harold Varner III, I cannot even overstate what a victory would mean to him.
And this is the final opportunity for players outside the top 125 in the standings to qualify for the FedEx Cup playoffs. As for guys who didn't help themselves out on Thursday, Chip, who was the biggest disappointment to you in round one?
Biggest disappointment is probably going to be Brooks Koepka. You know, he's not necessarily in that same position where he needs to get points to be able to make it to the next cut. But I mean, look at his FedEx Cup ranking. He is not even a guarantee to make it to the Tour Championship at East Lake. And Brooks Koepka comes into this another event, no weeks off, trying to find ways to piece his game together. And for all the big talk that he had on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening at the TPC Harding Park at the PGA Championship, for him to follow that up with a really poor 74 on Sunday, then after the round, he's just talking about how his focus was really only on helping Paul Casey bring it home. I really wonder where he's at. Where's that competitiveness level at? He was very, very poor with his driving accuracy. He was very, very poor on the greens. He's trying to find something with his putter, and he's just nowhere close to where I think myself and a lot of others thought that we were close to seeing, which is a major championship competitor, Brooks Koepka. You know, right there at WGC Memphis, he had a chance. He couldn't close it out. Trouble with driving accuracy. And he goes into Sunday talking big game like he's about to go win his third straight PGA Championship. Trouble with driving accuracy, trouble with the putter. And then what do we see during this first round performance? Trouble with driving accuracy, trouble with the putter. He's just not in major championship form. And that is what we've come to expect from Brooks Koepka. I am just really, really fading on some of my enthusiasm for, you know, picking him even at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, it's absolutely Brooks Koepka. Let's be real here. He's played 6 weeks in a row, and when an elite golfer does that, they only do it out of necessity. So Brooks Koepka himself feels like he needs to be playing, whether that is for FedEx Cup points, whether it is trying to find his game for this stretch run that we are going to get into. Whatever combination it is, Brooks Koepka is playing by necessity. He was trying to build in an off week at the Memorial, felt like he needed to fill the gap in his schedule there, and that's a problem when you have a guy trying to find his game heading into the FedEx Cup playoffs, and before you know it, we're going to be at Winged Foot. Then before you know it again, we're going to be at Augusta. I mean, this is the stretch of golf that Brooks Koepka needs to be in prime shape for, and he's just not. He's bleeding strokes on the greens. He's been unbelievably poor with the flat stick. He's giving everything away from 5 to 10 feet. It looks ugly because he's missing the short ones. He's just a bit in disarray right now through the last handful of rounds for him. And if he doesn't figure it out quickly, he's going to be on the outside looking in when it comes to Eastlake.
2 over after the first round there at the Wyndham Championship, 92nd. So just inside the top 100 of the FedEx Cup standings. All right, Rick, who was your biggest surprise in round one?
I like the trio at the top, but I still think it's Tom Hoge. This is a guy who you've seen on the PGA Tour for the last couple of years, but his only professional win comes on the Canadian Tour. And we hear so much about him, you know, in the fantasy communities, in the wagering communities. Hoagie's like this guy who goes out and shoots something like this in the first round, an 8 under 62. He's your first round leader, and then he fades just a bit, but his mentality doesn't appear that way. There was a great story that they were talking about on the telecast telecast where he knows that that gas pedal is on the right-hand side. He likes to keep his foot down. So you're not going to see Tom Hoge back off of this thing. Everybody on tour is retaining their card, so he's got no worries about that this season. He can go out and try to win one of these, put $1.5 million in his pocket and see what happens.
Give me Sergio Garcia. I wasn't necessarily looking at Sergio as somebody who was uniquely motivated to make the playoffs. He's part of that conversation where, he's potentially going to miss the playoffs. Last time he did that, 2018, and it wouldn't be something that we come to expect from a world-class golfer, from a major champion, from somebody who's really been in our golf world for more than 2 decades. But for him to go out, and I thought that not only was he really good off the tee, but he looked comfortable on those Sedgefield greens, and he seemed to feel like he was rolling it in. He put a lot of birdies on the card, and that's not the best part of his game. He ranks outside of the top 200 in the PGA Tour in putting. Very good off the tee, but if he continues to be accurate, if he continues to hit greens in regulation, and if he continues to feel comfortable with his putter, then he's going to be able to have a high enough finish to really move himself along in this playoff race. He spent some of his time on the European Tour. He has a limited PGA Tour calendar at this point in his career, so he's going to be at a disadvantage when it comes to FedEx Cup points. And I thought that maybe missing the playoffs wasn't going to be something that would bother Sergio Garcia at this point in his life, at this point in his career. But he goes out there, throws a lot of birdies on the card. Maybe he's uniquely motivated to make sure that he makes a deeper appearance in the playoffs than you might have thought, given where he was with no top 20 finishes in the last couple starts.
Right now on the outside looking in at 134th in the standings in terms of the FedEx Cup playoffs. All right, Rick, what will you be watching for in round 2 from Sedgefield Country Club?
I'm watching the course itself. It actually played a bit more difficult than we would have expected on Thursday. If you shot 1 under, you were better than the field. I was expecting it to be a little bit closer to 2 under. We saw the last 4 years a 21 or 22 under winning score was what it took to raise the trophy on Sunday. And when you get those wet conditions where they're playing lift, clean, and place, we saw a couple of 62s out there. But I was expecting for the entire field to be a little bit deeper under par than this, the rough a bit thicker than I think we were all expecting. So I think the storyline, and a lot of it comes from this beautiful Donald Ross design for the next 3 days, how much it's able to bite back, and if it'll be a version of Sedgefield Country Club that we've seen in previous years, or if it'll play a bit more difficult.
I've got my eye on Patrick Reed. I see him lurking there with the 65, 5 under par, a winner here back in 2013. Really, really good short game when he's got it dialed in. As long as he keeps things accurate off the tee, and as long as he doesn't put himself in any poor positions, he might be one of the ones to watch here, because he has been very, very solid through much of the 2020 season, and he is going to be the one that I'm watching to see how he follows up that 65, because where he sits on the leaderboard and where Webb Simpson sits on the leaderboard, another former winner here at the Wyndham Championship, that might be the real lead as we're going into the weekend.
Yeah, Patrick Reed 3 shots back of the leaders. Harold Varner III, Hoge and Sloan all tied for first at 8 under par following the opening round at the Wyndham Championship. Rick, Chip, appreciate the insight. Thanks. Hey, for more awesome golf content, join host Rick Gehman alongside Kyle Porter, Mark Imlin, Greg Ducharme on the First Cut podcast, delivering tournament previews, including DFS plays, picks, and analysis, while diving into the storylines that matter the most. The First Cut podcast. Download and subscribe today.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.